Welcome back, the Romaniacs. So today we're going to be talking about more movies. No more books for tonight. So David Lynch is my favorite filmmaker of all time, and he passed away on the 15th of January 2025. Today would have been his 79th birthday. I have been a huge Lynch fan since I saw his. I'm pretty sure the first movie I saw his was Wild at Heart, and I loved it. That for the longest time, that was my favorite film. Like, I made all my every time there's at least a half dozen girlfriends that have watched that film. I'm like, this is my favorite film, you have to watch it with me. Yeah, I love that film. It won the 1990 Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. And I started checking out his back catalog. I started watching Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, which I need to rewatch. I went today to go buy that. I was going to get the Criterion Collection. I thought I saw it at this bookstore, and I went there today and they didn't have one, and I was like, I wanted to get that today. I was going to get a Criterion of Eraserhead, but I've seen it. I've only seen it once though. It is a weird, wild film, and I recently rewatched a couple. I watched the official trailer for it. I watched a couple fan-made trailers, and I'm like, I need to rewatch this. I would get so much more out of this now. I need to rewatch a lot of my favorite cinema, because he's up there. Like, my top three are Kubrick, the Coen brothers, and Lynch. But unlike the Lynch, stands out from those other two in the sense that I watch a lot of interviews with Lynch. I've seen him talk about a lot of various things. I find him completely fascinating. I love how he talks with his hands, and I mean, when you're thinking, I noticed that I've watched some of my videos back, and I don't know if I have been unconsciously emulating him or if I just have the same mannerisms, but I definitely have been thinking and doing things like that with my hands. So maybe that's just a natural thing. But I notice it with him a lot. I don't notice it with a lot of other people that I'm watching talk. Like, they don't think with their hands necessarily. But like I was just watching this most random thing, like this behind the scenes of him talking about. I think they were on the set of Inland Empire. And he was talking about, why do we only have 2 days to do this? How am I supposed to do this in 2 days? This is bullshit. Like, and he starts going off about how this is inhibiting his creative process, having to do this scene in 2 days. He doesn't have time to, like, he wanted a couple more days to, basically get the creativity flowing. He used this great phrase, to get dreamy. I need to get dreamy with it. How am I supposed to get dreamy? He's got all these interesting mannerisms, but he's just a fascinating character. He just seems like this, he seems like a regular guy. Maybe he comes off a little when he's talking. You get because he's into transcendental meditation. He talks about that quite a bit. And lately he's just been doing weather reports from Los Angeles. And that was kind of the sad story about how he died. He had to relocate because of the fires. He was at his sister's home. He had been diagnosed with emphysema. He was confined to a home. He couldn't move without like an oxygen tank. He was basically saying, I can't make any more films. But he said prior to that he just wasn't feeling it anymore. He didn't have any more good ideas, he didn't think. But and there's a video of him talking about being depressed, and he doesn't have any creativity. And so I don't know if he would have made another film. He would have made another good film if he made one, but he I don't know as if he would have made another film even if he hadn't have recently just passed. But yeah, he was at his sister's, and I think his house burned. I think his house burned. He was at his sister's, and he died shortly after relocating there, like within a month. Um, and that's so tragic. Like it actually I'm not an emotional person, at least on things I'm supposed to be emotional about. But that a few times has kind of made me take a second breath, because I had to like take a deep breath and just be like, oh, this is so sad. But yeah, he's you know, for the longest time he was my favorite director. I would still probably call him that, but I kind of have a three-way tie between him and Kubrick and the Coen brothers. I guess it's a four-way tie. I mean, I think of the Coen brothers as the Siamese twins, even though they're not. They're like Siamese twins that are separated, but whatever. And they don't look alike. Siamese fraternal twins, I guess. So is that possible? No, it's not. So yeah, David Lynch. I mean, if you don't know this guy, if you're into cinema, I don't see how that's possible. Those two things, if you're into cinema and you don't know who David Lynch is, that really should be impossible unless you just got into cinema. But yeah, he starts out with his first film is Eraserhead, which is an experimental film that he made while in film school, and it is super bizarre and super awesome and black and white, and really weird. You will get a slice of the film just by watching the trailer. Then he went on to make Elephant Man, which is super sad. Like it's a real life story about John Merrick. He had all these deformities, and they called him the Elephant Man. He goes from being in this carnival circus to all these doctors, treating him basically the same way he was being treated in the circus, as like this spectacle. And there's this famous scene, he's like, I am not an animal. Oh, it's so sad. Anthony Hopkins is in that. It's a great film. It's sad though. Like that's one I don't want to rewatch because I just find it so sad. Then he made Dune, which I didn't initially. At first, I thought it was a little campy and looked a little cheesy, and a friend of mine was really into it, and he was watching it one day, and I was kind of watch him watch it, and I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, I see why my buddy digs this film. So it quickly became one of my favorite science fiction films. I love the new ones too, but this is the most alien sci-fi film I've ever seen. Like, everything just seems so weird and bizarre, and the set designs, the costuming, it's really, 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 it's what you should expect from otherworldly stuff. Then but he didn't have final cut on that, which kind of drove him crazy. And then he went on to make Blue Velvet, which became this huge hit. I don't know if it was a huge like blockbuster, but it was everybody's favorite film list from that year. And he said it kind of, in that film, Dennis Hopper is kind of like in this terrible abusive relationship with Isabella Rossellini, and his character, the way Hopper treats Rossellini is kind of how the film industry, like, it's kind of almost a metaphor for how the film industry treats artists. So like David Lynch is Isabella, and the film industry is Dennis Hopper. It's got Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern in it, and a bunch of other people. I mean, I've been out of the cinema loop for a minute, but then he went on to make Wild at Heart, which I love, and then he did Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, I believe, after he did the series, and then he did. At some point he did The Straight Story, this rated G Disney movie that's really profound and beautiful, about a true life story about this guy in Iowa that takes a lawnmower to go visit his brother because he doesn't have a license. Amazing film. And then He did Lost Highway, which is a wild film. That was his first film that didn't make sense. And then he did Mulholland Drive, which is his second film that doesn't make sense. And then he did Inland Empire, and I think that's all 10 of his films. I don't think I missed any of them. So of those films, some of my favorite scenes, probably the best scene of all time has to be the Silencio scene. You can watch that on YouTube. I mean, you should probably watch the video of David Lynch about watching movies on your phone before that, and he kind of makes it clear that his films aren't meant to be watched on your phone or computer. But the Silencio scene, if you've got headphones, maybe you can slide by on that. But that scene is so eerie and creepy and weird, and he sets these scenes up. Like I saw a film analysis on YouTube of also a scene from Mulholland Drive of the man behind the Winkies Donuts, and like he said, it's in daylight. Like, it's the scariest scene of all time. And this guy's analyzing. He's like, he's telling you what he's gonna do. He's like going there, and like it's not. There's not jump scares. There's not weird editing. Like, it is just honestly this terrifying scene where this psychologist and this guy are in this donut shop, and they're talking about this dream the guy had, and he's like, I just want to make sure that this guy isn't behind the Winkies, behind the dumpster. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm sure the guy's not there. And he goes, this all happened in my dream though, and this is scaring me, and you were over there, and da-da-da-da. And just watch the scene. It's an incredible scene. And then also watch the film analysis on that scene. But the guys, it's a terrifying scene, and it's in broad daylight without any jump cuts or scares, and it tells you what's going to happen, and even as it's happening, it's terrifying. Like, that just plays against expectations. You should be tricking the audience and smoke and mirrors, look over here while I do this over here, and then doing jump cuts and boom and loud noises and stuff, and it's just like, no. I'll show you how I can scare the living hell out of you without any trickery. But that's an incredible scene. I like it. There's several scenes in Inland Empire that are really amazing. There's a scene where Laura Dern is talking with she plays this actress, and they're filming this cursed film, and I can't remember the guy's name who's the lead actor, but the director is Jeremy Irons, and they're having this off-screen relationship, and then there's parallels between their off-screen relationship and what's going on in the film. But there's this scene where she's talking to him, and she goes, "This sounds like dialogue from our script," and you're like, "Cut! What are you doing?" And the director, and she's like, it is kind of really eerie and scary how it goes down. You're just like, it's so disorienting. You're like, this must be what it's like to go insane. Like, you think one thing's happening, and then another thing's happening, and oh, they are on set, and that's why the dialogue sounds like it's an incredible scene. Then that same actress, there's somebody who comes up to her door one day and says, "I'm the new neighbor. Where are you at?" Oh, up the street? No, back in the woods. And it's like, back in the woods? I didn't know there was a house back there. Yeah, that's where I live. And it's really odd. And she's saying, "I hear you got a new part." She goes, "How do you know I got the part?" And she, "Oh, you definitely haven't, da-da-da." And then she gives her this story, and, she's like, there's a little girl, and she's lost in the marketplace behind, like, she's saying these really creepy things, and then she starts saying